Hello, everybody. I'm back. It's Minutes with Milo. It's Thursday night. It's going to be fun, we hope. So, how is everybody? Pretty good, I hope. I've had a wonderful day because it's my what? It's my Friday. That's right. You know this. You know the deal. It's my Friday. So, that's why I've had a wonderful day because I'm off for the next, wait a minute, this many days. Rock on the next 3 days. All right. So, if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. If you're watching it live, congratulations. Roberto is in the house. Good evening, Robert. If you're watching it after it's live, then put a little beepy doo thing in your calendar on that phone thing and put it for 8:50, I don't know, 7:30 Thursday night p.m. So you don't, miss it. You can tune in live like Robert's doing. Maybe Garthok will be here, and I'm here. So you can join us. If you're watching it later, Peach King, leave me a comment. I appreciate it. So tonight was just kind of it's not special. It's kind of what I've been doing now for a year or two, whatever. It's just something that came to mind. Back in the early days, people invented things. And I've often had an argument, and it's probably wrong, but when there wasn't so many things, inventing something new was easier. Am I right? Ooh, that was a good noise. So, and this is my theory. If you lived 100 years ago, and I'm going to use a stupid number, there were 1,000 things invented, but potentially there could be 1,000,000 things invented. You've got a lot of room there, right? You've got a lot of room to think of something and make an invention. So if you live now, where there's a potential 1,000,000 things to be invented, but people have invented 999,472, there's not enough, the window's a little closer. But I'm all wrong, I am sure. But in my mind, that's what I think. You could stumble onto something back 200 years ago and make it work, and it would be awesome, you know? So when they invented steam power, maybe we'll look and see when it was first invented. It was wonderful, right? Ingenuity, maybe. Inventing, no. That's what Robert says. And I'm not 100% sure what that means. Ingenuity, maybe. Inventing, no. So you think it would be easier to be in isn't ingenuity like inventiveness? Maybe, I don't know. You think it'd be easier to think of things but not make them. Is that what you're saying? It might be easy to think of making a steam engine, but it would be harder to actually do it. So, yes. Okay. So you're thinking back in the day, 200 years ago, we're just going to use that number. Somebody might have an idea on how to make a bread slicer, but it would be harder for them to put that idea to actual practical use. Making it a prototype, getting it to, however you wanted to slice of bread, all that kind of stuff. So you think it'd be harder, which I kind of agree with, yes. Because if that's what you're, shooting at, then yeah, the technology wasn't there, the opportunities weren't there. If you were a baker and you thought, man, I might be able to make 5 loaves in a day. I wish I could cut 5 loaves at one time. It would save me so much more time. You're right. So, true. Thinking of things might have been having things that you could think of to be an improvement may have been easier, but making them come to life was probably harder. You are correct. If I understand you're saying, that's probably true. But once the steam engine came about and it was useful, and they started using it for other things, and of course, like the picture that I used. By the way, that's generated by AI, of course, like a lot of my other stuff here lately has been. And I just, except for the faux pas last week when I was trying to get Gemini, and I would rather use Grok, but I am still in that place where it won't respond to me, and I can't log into my X account on the computer because it says it's invalid login. But I look at it on my phone all day. I don't know. But that's AI generated. And I just asked it to do a steam engine, so it picked a train because 99.9% of when you say a steam engine, you think of train. But they used them for other things. They used them for uh, tractors. They used them for, running machines. They have maybe a steam engine that turned a big wheel that the belt was hooked to, and it might turn a flour grinder or pulverizer, whatever it might have been, as in a factory. The big steam engine may have turned, you know, hundreds of sewing machines. I don't know. But they use steam a lot because why? I mean, it's what they had. And they had coal. Nobody cared about burning coal. Nobody cared about burning wood. You just did that. And the machine ran. And water was, available, and they understood it. And it was like, put water in here, build a fire over there, twist these knobs, blow the nice little whistle to let off some steam, and boom, you're running a steam engine. So, in my infinite wisdom, hello, could you make a steam engine car nowadays? Is the technology to the point to where you could make a steam engine uh, efficient enough? Well, I don't know, man. Maybe you've got like ultra slick oils, synthetic oils now that you use in the bearings, and so it doesn't take as much mechanical force to spin the wheels, and you know what I mean, all this modern stuff. Could you, make a tighter tolerance engine where, the steam, it was just more efficient. And then could you use that to power a car, a bus, a boat? And you can do all these things. It's just whatever you're willing to, put into it to get what else. I mean, somebody could go and make a steam powered car, and I'm sure they're out there. We'll look for one, tomorrow. Start working on it. Get you an old S10 frame because they're lying around everywhere. Figure out how to make a steam engine. Get an old water heater. Try not to kill yourself, but you see where I'm going with it. You get something and you just make it work, and I did that one show on, the hit or miss engine, which is, pretty much steam engine, I think, if I recall that show. Maybe it wasn't steam engine. Maybe it was like a diesel gas, kind of an internal combustion deal. So you just use steam. So thought I would ask Gemini what it thought and see if, where we could go with it. And I don't know how to ask Gemini questions. I don't know how to ask AI questions. So I just asked it if there was, in today's transportation requirements, is there anything that a steam engine would be useful at? I'm thinking, maybe it's going to think, transportation like I would think of it, like, cars, boats, trains, automobiles, that kind of stuff. And in a way it did. I mean, I asked kind of a rudimentary question and it came up with an answer. And we'll look at that. I'm also going to look at steam. Car. Let's see. See if anyone is making steam-powered cars. Steam-powered cars have not been manufactured since the early 20th century, except for a few experimental models. While the idea of steam car is fascinating, there are significant challenges to overcome for them to be competitive in the modern automotive landscape. So, a list of steam car makers. Edward S. Clark made several experimental steam-powered wagons in Boston in 1900. He began manufacturing steam cars in Dorchester. The steam engine was a horizontally opposed 20 horsepower four-cylinder engine. Wow, that's pretty cool. Robert says Jay Leno has a steam-powered car. Right. And they make, I saw one of those car shows one time. That made a wood smoke car, wood smoke gas car. I mean, that may be totally stupid, but it wasn't steam. I think somehow they built a fire and then let it smolder that creates smoke, and then somehow they take the smoke and combust it. I don't know. Maybe I'm all wrong about that. So, we'll look at some of these, but I want to look and see what Gemini has said. Excuse me. So let's jump over here. Just as a side note, some of these list of steam car makers are all in the mid to late 1800s. In 2012, somebody did a steam-powered engine to overcome a lot of obstacles to win public approval, such as common misconceptions. Looks like they made a land speed car. Oh, we got to look at some pictures too. But let's see what Gemini said. All right. So, according to Gemini, even a good modern steam engine would face significant challenges in meeting the requirements of most forms of transportation today, primarily due to the issues of efficiency, emissions, infrastructure, and operational practicality. So, someone has a modern engine that somehow runs on water. Right. Toyota has the, and I've seen these things, but I've never really followed up with them on their little videos. And I come back to, it can't be as good as it sounds just because if it was a hydrogen, so Toyota makes an engine where you put water in it and somehow it takes the water, converts it to hydrogen, as needed and then burns the hydrogen that way, is the way I understand it. Yeah. On the fly, it extracts it on the fly as it goes. So, and I don't doubt that that's true, but if it was as good as what you would hope it would be, then these on-demand hydrogen cars would be as popular as electric vehicles. And when I say that, I mean Toyota would have one, Chevrolet would have one, Honda would have one, independent manufacturers would have one, like for electricity, of course, it's Tesla. But so there's got to be some big hurdles with the on-demand hydrogen, uh, and I think one of the big demands on that would be the energy. Water doesn't compress, so you put water in something, you try to squeeze it, and it just doesn't happen. So if you atomized water and you started to compress it and you hit it real hard, I think with a bunch of energy, maybe it would explode instantaneously through the compression, and the spark or the type of ignition might create steam, immediate to hydrogen, and make it explode. I don't know. I've never looked into it, but I know there's people out there, companies out there that have a hydrogen. I think it's called hydrogen, on demand. You put water in the gas tank, it goes through the system as water, and then at the very last minute it's converted. Well, if you ran water, the beauty of that in hydrogen cars, water is a byproduct. That's what comes out of the tailpipe. Steam, moisture, whatever. So, and I don't know all the laws of physics, but you can convert energy from one thing to another, but it converts it to, so hydrogen from water to hydrogen and then to atmosphere back to water is the way I understood that process. And so you're just converting water to hydrogen, and then through the process of making energy with hydrogen, it makes water again. Maybe I'm wrong. So you wouldn't be like, losing it. It would just, be transformed into one, then back to the other. So I don't know if yes, if you're pulling it out of the pond, it wouldn't go back into the pond. Theoretically, it would go into the atmosphere and then hopefully maybe rain it back down. But you may not get it. It might, if you're running a hydrogen car here in Tennessee, your vapor that goes out in the air may form a cloud over Oklahoma and rain out there. I don't know. But hydrogen is pretty cool. So, modern transportation requirements: high efficiency, low emissions, rapid acceleration and deacceleration, long range, low maintenance, automated minimum crew operation, compact size and weight, versatility of fuel. But those are always good, I think those are good points on if you were driving a car, you would want all those things. You'd want good fuel mileage. You wouldn't want to pollute everything. You would want to be able to accelerate and deaccelerate. Of course, that's a function of braking. You would want to be able to go a long ways without refueling. Low maintenance and reliability. And you wouldn't, you'd be able to operate it yourself. You wouldn't have to have 3 people operating it. So, with those in mind, this is what Gemini says, steam engine in modern transportation, low thermal efficiency. traditional steam engines have significantly lower thermal efficiencies, around 5 to 7% compared to modern diesel engine of 30 to 40%, and electric motors over 90% at the wheels, though power generation is also efficiency losses. While advanced steam designs have aimed for higher efficiencies up to 30% in large stationary plants, achieving this in mobile applications with fluctuating power demands is complex and often comes with increased bulk and maintenance. But isn't steam powered recyclable, or cyclical? It turns water into steam. It's pushed through whatever device you're using, like let's just say it's spinning a wheel. It spins the wheel and then it goes into a recovery mode, which then, doesn't it cool down? Don't they cool that steam back down to water and make it go back into the water tank somehow? I thought it was. I don't know. So you talked about, Robert asked, I wonder why vehicles don't have an alternator on every axle to help with energy demands. So that's one of the things on these electric cars they're supposed to be able to do is regenerative braking. So the engines on each wheel, as you put power to them, they're a motor and they turn the wheel. Then when you let off and it stops sending power to the motor, a regenerative braking system, the wheels are still turning and therefore the motor still turns. So what they do is somehow, through the magic of presto changeo, the motor becomes an electrical generator as it's slowing, as the wheels are powering the motor. Instead of the motor powering the wheels, they become generators, and through regenerative braking, charge the battery as you're slowing down, using the motor to charge them. So, yeah, you would hope it would be self-sustained, but like I said, I don't know all the laws of physics, but you can never get out as much energy into anything as you put into it. So if you put, 5,000 volts through your Tesla, and then through regenerative braking, you may only get back, 1,500 volts. It's just, it loses it. It's wasted. You just can't get that much back out of it. But in some drag cars, they used to run the alternator off the drive shaft in the back where it went. There was a special pulley built onto the back of the hogshead where the drive shaft attached, and beside of that was the alternator. So you got engine power through the transmission, which is a torque multiplier on the, when you turn an alternator off the crank, it's just a certain ratio. The pulley on the crank so big, the pulley on the alternator so big, and you get a certain amount of, there. In the back, it's the same kind of deal, but there's not so much, supposedly not as much parasitic loss on the drive shaft because your transmission is multiplying the engine power, sending it through the drive shaft, and now, the engine might be turning 7,000 RPMs, but the drive shaft may be turning, what did I say? Engine turning 700 RPM. Not 700. Not 7,000. I said 7,000, didn't I? Yeah. Maybe turning 7,000 RPM, but that, the drive shaft might be turning, 20,000 RPM. I don't know. You know what I mean? it's turning faster than the engine because it's coming out the backside of the transmission, and therefore your alternator is spinning that much faster, and it's not using as much energy, as it would if it was hooked to the car. Because I know Robert knows, and if you've ever driven an older car, during the day, everything's great. It comes dusk, you're driving along, you pull the headlights on, you're running your air conditioner, it hits the alternator for more power because now, you're running fan blower motor, now you run your headlights, all your marker lights, and boom, you can feel that little where the alternator really kicks in and try to generate a bunch of power at once, and the engine feels that because it's what's turning the alternator. And you can feel it in the car, and you can hear it. But back to steam engines. They're low efficiency. They have high emissions, and that's because you need some type of fuel to heat the water to create the steam. Of course, now you wouldn't use coal, you wouldn't use wood, you'd probably use like propane or natural gas. So it's emissions, and it talks about that. What does it say? While modern combustion techniques and alternate fuels like biomass could reduce it, the inherent efficiencies still mean more fuel burned for the same output. So even though you might use propane and natural gas, since it's not efficient enough, you'd have to burn more and therefore, more emissions. Infrastructure requirements. Steam engines require large quantities of water, necessitating frequent rewatering stops, which is impractical for most modern routes. Hello, charging a battery, filling up your tank with, long startup times. Heating and boiling to generate sufficient steam could take hours, making rapid deployment impossible. High maintenance and complexity. Steam engines have numerous moving parts, complex plumbing, and high operating temperatures and pressures. I agree with that, leading to significant maintenance needs and potential for breakdowns. Weight and bulk. Steam systems, boiler, condenser, water tanks, fuel bunkers are inherently heavy and bulky. Crew requirements. Traditionally, steam locomotives require a large crew. See, it's kind of, Gemini's kind of stepping around. It's still thinking engines, steam engines, railroad cars, all that kind of stuff. When I'm asking, of course I ask any transportation. It ought to be able to scale it down to a car. You're not going to have, a guy stoking coal in the back of your station wagon so you can steam, have a steam car. And it talks about maybe there might be a niche market, industrial applications, heritage or tourism, railroads. The conclusion, while the engineering marvel of steam engines is undeniable, their fundamental thermodynamic limitations coupled with the demanding requirements of modern transportation make them largely unsuitable for widespread commercial use. Excuse me. So then I say, how about using a steam engine over electric? So locomotives today they use a diesel engine that then turns a turbine that makes electricity that then powers the electric motors to run the train. And it's supposed to be so efficient. So I asked it, why not steam over, electric? It's an interesting concept, it says. Essentially proposing a steam-electric hybrid vehicle. While it sounds intriguing, adding the steam engine into the mix for a car introduces a whole new set of challenges that would likely make it impractical compared to existing emerging technologies. I think Gemini is just trying to tell me it's a stupid thing and it's not going to work. How theoretically would it work? So you'd have a steam generator. A boiler would heat water, produce high pressure steam, perhaps using a compact burner fuel like liquid fuel, natural gas, or even biomass. The steam would drive a compact steam engine, possibly a uniflow reciprocating, or even a small steam turbine, which would turn a generator. The generator produces electricity. The electricity could either directly power electric motors to drive the wheels, or charge the battery packs, which then powers electric motors. More like a range-extended electric vehicle. So it says even with this, there's, overall efficiency loss. Adding extra energy conversion, fuel, chemical energy to heat, boiler, heat to mechanical work, steam engine, mechanical work to electrical engine, generator, and then electrical engine energy back to mechanical work, electric motor. Each conversion has a efficiency loss. So then how are diesel train engines, diesel over electric, so efficient? Steam engine efficiency. Even modern compact steam engines designed for mobile use, like those explored in the passenger cars, still struggle to achieve the same high thermal efficiency as modern internal combustion engines. Net result: the overall well-to-wheel, I don't know what that is, efficiency would likely be significantly lower than a direct ICE vehicle, internal combustion vehicle, a battery electric vehicle, or even an ICE-based hybrid. Weight and bulk. Perhaps you'd need a boiler components. You'd need a boiler, a water tank, a condenser to recover water for efficiency, steam engine itself, the generator, battery pack, and the electric motors. This is far more complex and heavy than just an ICE with a generator for a battery pack and motors. All right. Startup time: boiler warms up. Steam engines require significant time to heat and boil water. That's true. Complex in maintenance. That's true, I would say. I don't know what all piping wise, pressure release valve wise. If you've ever looked at a steam engine up close, they got all kinds of pipes and knobs and stuff running everywhere. I don't know. Man, does it really have to be that complicated? To boil water, to send it through a pipe, to hit a generator, spin a wheel, and then let it go out the other side and condense it? Does it really have to be that? All right. Why existing solutions are preferred. The internal combustion engine hybrid uses a highly optimized ICE, often running in its most efficient RPM range to generate electricity or directly drive the wheels. They are compact, relatively efficient, and benefit from decades of development. Battery electric vehicles offer zero tailpipe emissions, instant torque, and very high efficiency from the grid to the wheels. So they say. Main limitations are battery cost, range, and charging infrastructure. Well, there you have it. Fuel cell electric vehicles use hydrogen. There you go, Robert. Use hydrogen to generate electricity through a fuel cell. While hydrogen infrastructure is still nascent, they offer fast refueling and zero tailpipe emissions, effectively acting as a range-extended EV with hydrogen as the fuel. So you could buy, I don't know where they are, if they're still even out there, you could go to a hydrogen fueling station, take your hydrogen car, fill it with hydrogen directly from a hydrogen tank, under pressure, think Hindenburg, and then drive away. But there's not that many out there because it's dangerous as all crap, right? Boone Lake. We'll get your hydrogen from Boone Lake. All right, so with steam over electric, it says its conclusion, while technically fascinating, it thinks I'm fascinating. A steam engine driving a generator for an e-car would likely be a technological regression for mass transportation. The inherent efficiencies, weight, complexity, startup time, and maintenance of steam system make it a far less practical and efficient solution than the ICE hybrid. All right, so I read that and said, well, let's just see what it thinks about nuclear. Let's go out on a limb and say you have a small, compact nuclear reactor, Mr. Fusion, and it's used to produce the steam that then turns the generator. And it says, oh, you want to play that game, do you? So, okay, let's go way out with that concept. You're now proposing a nuclear-powered series hybrid electric vehicle where a small compact nuclear reactor serves as the heat source to generate steam, which then turns a generator to power electric cars. This concept ventures from engineering challenge to profound societal safety and regulatory impossibility for personal transportation in the foreseeable future. Boy, Gemini is so negative. We're doing a little brain game here, and it's already jumping to profound societal safety and regulatory impossibilities. Here's the analysis of such a system. Miniature nuclear reactor. They don't exist, but let's just play the game. A hypothetical ultra-compact nuclear fission reactor core would generate intense heat. Hello? That's what we're after, right? Instantaneous steam. Heat exchange, steam generation. This heat would be transferred to a working fluid, likely water, in a heat exchanger, producing high-pressure steam. The steam would drive a compact steam turbine or a highly efficient steam engine. The turbine engine would turn an electric generator. The electricity produced would then power electric motors connected to the wheels, likely with a battery buffer for acceleration and braking energy recovery. Why is this not feasible and likely never will be for personal transportation? Gemini is a lot like your wife. It's like Miss Negativity. Why not fusion driven without hydrogen? I mean, I don't know. Is fusion like, I know it's a form of energy, but it's something that you could tap on to that, it would directly drive your car somehow? Yeah, but even in a nuclear reactor, see, that's what I was talking about with this, the potential in a nuclear reactor for making electricity. They use the nuclear reactor for the heat source. I'm thinking I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, we'll look at it. As the heat source to then boil the water that turns the electric generating turbines. Let's look at that. Simple explain. All right, give me a simple one. I don't want to know how a nuclear reactor works. How does a nuclear power plant make electricity? Can't be reached. Then why on God's green earth do you give me a link to an article in my search results. If the stupid thing can't be reached, why? Why? That's like doing a search in Amazon and say, show me a dozen roses, and it goes, well, here's 3 listings for a dozen roses. You click on one, and it takes you to daisies. It just blows my mind. And I know I don't have, I know I've got internet because my show is still going out. Because if my internet goes down, the show takes a dump. I'm thinking the internet doesn't want me to know how this stuff works. I don't want to know how the reactor works. I want to know how it makes electricity. Right there's my answer. How does a nuclear power plant make electricity? Yeah, I know. It's a governmental conspiracy. Oh my gosh. All right, let's look at this. Let's just do the old get rid of everything but the home address. Let's see what the nrc.gov is not available. Give me a picture. Give me a picture. Looky there. Dang it. There we go. All right. Let's get you over here. Oh, that's not what we want. Slide that over. Okay. So here's the nuclear. Can't see my pointer. Why can't you see my pointer? No. Here we go. So this is the nuclear reactor. Reactor pressure vessel, pressure tank. I don't know what that says. Can't read it. Water pump. So this is the contained nuclear reactor, and this is the water, the superheated water that comes out of the nuclear reaction. So water flows in here, it's pumped in here, it fills this vessel that the nuclear water goes through. So they're in the same vessel, but they never touch, because the nuclear water is in a pipe inside the big vessel, and the water that's created into steam from that contact is, they never intermingle, but they, so the water's pumped in, it's superheated by the nuclear reactor super hot water, turns it to steam, the steam comes out, turns the turbine, which then turns the electric generator and generates electricity. The steam comes off the turbine in the condenser, it's cooled, converted back to water, and more water is added to it, and then it goes through the system again. So, why can't my car work like that? Why can't my miniature nuclear reactor interact with the water that's in my fuel tank, turn it to steam, have it turn a turbine that then turns the electric motors at my wheels, or turns the electric motor, which generates the battery power that then charges the wheels, and then the steam's converted back into water, and with more water, and off it goes. Look at this other picture. Yep, same kind of deal. Steam turbine, electric generator, condenser, cooling water, steam, steam, water, steam, steam, water, steam, steam, water, nuclear pump, nuclear reactor. Oh, they got fancy ones. Fancy pictures. All right, so that's what I was after, right? From my question. Get rid of some of these things. Gemini. He says it's not feasible. Well, it's feasible. Is it practical? Probably not. Probably not, but don't tell me it's not feasible, and it'll likely never be for personal vehicles. Okay, what? Radiation contaminants. Yeah, okay. Even the smallest fission reactor produces a harmful radiation. Well, yeah, it does. Accident risk. Uh-huh. A car crash involving a nuclear reactor, no matter how small, would be a catastrophic event. Reactor core damage could lead to uncontrollable releases of radioactive material, contaminating large areas and poisoning severe health risks. Security risk. The presence of fusible material in countless mobile units would present an unprecedented global security and proliferation risk for nuclear weapons materials. I think Gemini is the sky is falling henny penny chicken thing here. I said go way out on a limb. I don't think Gemini's ever seen Mr. Fusion from Back to the Future. Cost astronomical. Well, just think, if I were building a miniature nuclear reactor, how much material would I need? The size of a rice kernel? Half of a rice kernel? A flake? The size of a snowflake of, PR-51 isotopes? I don't know. I mean, come on. Come on, people. Regulatory hurdles. No regulatory body in the world would ever approve a personal vehicle powered by a nuclear fission reactor. The risks are simply too high and the implications too severe. Wow. It's out there. Gemini is no fun. Nuclear reactors are not instant on and off devices. They have specific startup and shutdown procedures that take time. Dang it. Making them unsuitable for the immediate power demands of personal vehicles. Theoretical advantages, completely overwhelmed by disadvantages. Did I ask for your opinion? Did I? Did I ask for your opinion? Conclusion. While a fascinating thought experiment, using a small compact nuclear reactor to produce steam for a car is firmly in the realm of science fiction and is highly improbable for practical application of personal transportation. Let's just see what it says. So, what about the Mr. Fusion reactor Doc Brown has in the Back to the Future movie? Put that in your pipe and smoke it there, Gemini. So, okay. So it's finally getting to the part when I say, let's go way out there, right? Robert says maybe magnetic shielding to keep down the nuclear material flying out everywhere and permeating my skull. The use Enterprise was the first aircraft carrier to go nuclear. My father was on it, so why not cars? Right. Right. So the Navy has been using these tiny, nuclear reactors safely for decades in the oceans, going into ports, in these huge, ports where there's hundreds and thousands of people in and around them, but yet it's not safe for my car or truck? Huh. All right. It says the iconic Mr. Fusion home energy reactor from Back to the Future Part 2. It's important to clarify that Mr. Fusion is a fictional device from a science fiction movie and operates on principles that are currently beyond our scientific and engineering capabilities, particularly for such a compact everyday application. Mr. Fusion is depicted as Doc Brown acquires Mr. Fusion in the year 2015. It replaces the plutonium-powered nuclear fusion reactor that initially powered the DeLorean time machine. Its primary function is to generate the 1.2 gigawatts of electricity needed to power the flux capacitor in the time circuits. Crucially, it is shown to be powered by household garbage, banana peels, beer cans, etc. This implies a source of converting everyday waste directly to immense amounts of energy. Why is it vastly different from real-world nuclear reactors or any current technology? All right, so in summary, Mr. Fusion represents the ultimate holy grail of energy generation, clean, abundant, and easily fueled from common waste. Okay, so if I have a Mr. Fusion, I do not need a steam engine to power my car, ? You're absolutely correct. If you had a real Mr. Fusion home energy reactor as depicted in Back to the Future, you would absolutely not need a steam engine to power your car. Here's why. Direct electricity generation. Mr. Fusion is shown to directly generate the massive amount of electricity required by the DeLorean in its time circuits. It doesn't appear to use intermediate steam cycle to do so. In the movie's fictional world, Mr. Fusion is an incredibly compact, efficient, and direct power source that converts household garbage into energy. It's the ultimate prime mover that provides all the necessary power. So yes, if Mr. Fusion were real, a completely revolutionary power generation and transportation. Okay, so let's do that then. It's 2025 now, so we should have one since he had one from 2015. Let's see what it says about that. This is my logic. So let's do that then. It's 2025 now, so we should have one since he had one from 2015. I wish that were the case. It would certainly solve a lot of our energy and waste problems. Unfortunately, even though Doc Brown got his Mr. Fusion in the fictional year 2015 in Back to the Future Part 2, that technology hasn't materialized in our real 2025 or even in hypothetical. Oh, I'm sorry, I've mistyped that up in there. So you're saying I can't have a Mr. Fusion? That's correct. I'm saying that in reality, you cannot have a Mr. Fusion home energy reactor. Okay. All right. So let's look real quick. Oh, I'm going to look at that too. List of steam car makers. Just real quick. It's 54 minutes. The steam car manufacturers listed here are mostly active during the first period of volume production, roughly 1860 to 1930, with a peak around 1900. From 1940 onward, steam cars have tended to be either experimental or prototypes. I'm digging this one. I am liking this job here. Imagine you sit back here. If this bad boy blew up, not good, people. Not good. Oh, here's you one. Well, that looks pretty cool. I guess you would sit in right here. And this will do bounces up and down and turns a crank on the wheel like a locomotive. Now see how simple that thing looks? I mean, yo, where's the fire at? I guess in this black bucket underneath here. I think the fire's down in here. Steam cars haul booty. Booty, booty. All right, I like that one. That might get me to work. Oh, check this one out. Oh, how come I can't? Wait a minute, get over here. Why am I clicking that over there when I know I can't do that? There we go. Look at that jewel. That's an awesome vehicle. Awesome vehicle. Oh, what are you doing? You're killing me. Oh, here's one. Look at that jewel. That looks like a real picture, doesn't it? Maybe. I want one. Autobus Amadil Boulier or something. Dude in the back's feeding the fire. Yep. That's your crew member. Here you go. Now look at that. Look at that. Let's see what this one is. Let's go back to the listing. Okay. So this one, 1815, in Poland, Joseph Bozek began construction of a steam carriage in 1814 and completed it in 1815. Bozek is considered one of the founders of the Czech mechanic. So that's pretty cool. This looks like a real rider right here. You're telling me that wouldn't be efficient. So this steam-powered automobile built by E.S. Callahan in Woonsocket, South Dakota, predated the Daimler and Benz automotive by 2 years. Its burner is fueled by kerosene. What's wrong with that? That would be a nice personalized vehicle. I think I'm going to give up restoring and redoing all my little cars, and I'm going to start making me a steam car. Shoot, yeah. All right. So, if you watched, I'm going to completely skip off of this completely because we're being on here an hour. I want to give you a little update. There we go. I want to give you a little update on last week's video show that I did on the Von Nietzsche manuscript. I think it was. I think it was Von Nietzsche manuscript. Let's get over here. I'm going to open my YouTube back. I got it closed off right now. Come on, man. Go to my channel. Come on. All right. Let's see what we were doing last week. Voynich manuscript. This one. Okay. So I had a person give me a comment, and let's bring it up. Oh, dang on it. Where did you go? Ticking me off. Get over here. Bring it down. Okay. All right. So Adrian Lapia 2432 says that the manuscript is an intentional communication by O's kernel from Trappist-1F. Okay? So, I had to look that up. I looked up the Trappist-1F, and Wikipedia said that it's actually a place now. Trappist-1F, also designated as 2-mass, this guy, is an exoplanet, likely rocky, orbiting within the habitable zone around the ultra-cool dwarf star TRAPPIST-1, located 40.7 light years, or 12.5 parsecs, away from Earth in the constellation of Aquarius. The exoplanet was found by using the transient method, in which the dimmer effect that a planet causes as it crosses in front of its star is measured. It is one of 4 new exoplanets to be discovered orbiting the star in 2017 using observations from the Spitzer Space Telescope. The planet is likely tidally locked and has been depicted as an eyeball planet in artistic impressions by NASA. Its physical characteristics is Earth-sized exoplanet, meaning it has a radius close to that of Earth. It has an equilibrium temperature of minus 67 degrees Fahrenheit. It has a radius of 1.04 something, some sorry, I don't know that. It is initially estimated to have a much lower mass and thus a low density of 3.3 plus or minus 0.9 G's per cms, and a surface gravity around 1.2 something, 62% of Earth's value. This suggests a large amount of volatiles, with a 2017 study suggesting that a water ocean may comprise as much as 20% of the planet's mass, increasing the temperature at the bottom of such an ocean to above 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. However, refined density estimates show that TRAPPIST-1F, like other planets in the system, is only slightly less dense than Earth, consistent with a rocky composition. So it's a real place. So I believe I responded to the person saying, so you think maybe this book was left by a visitor? And I don't know if they'll respond or not. But that was an update. Thought it was very interesting. Somebody actually commented on the video. It's a video now on the live stream that they weren't there, but they watched it, apparently. So I thought that was interesting. We'll see if the person responds, and we'll go from there. So I want to appreciate and thank everybody for stopping by. Robert, thank you very much. And if you're watching it later, I appreciate you watching it later. Leave me a comment like this person did. Let me know what you think about my steam engine idea. What do you think about getting us a Mr. Fusion started? I think that would be good. So Robert says he believes in ET, but just mathematically. So you don't think extraterrestrials are real, except for the fact that mathematically it could be possible. Is that what you're meaning? But you don't think they are. But they could be. Just on a very small chance, they could be. And I think that's where a lot of people fall on that deal. It's like, do you really want there to be extra life out there? I mean, a lot of people say, yes, I would love to meet them, and until it happens. And then, your lizard brain kicks in and says, holy crap, they're here to eat us. Which, if they can travel from there to us, we might be the mosquito, their skeeter on their water, and they just want to squish us. Maybe. Maybe not. So, anywho, that's the show for this evening. I hope you found it thought-provoking, interesting. I do believe E.T. have direct humans forever. I do believe E.T. have directed humans forever. So, you think they're real, not just mathematically? I believe in E.T. just mathematically. I do believe E.T. have directed humans forever. But if you just believe in them mathematically, I don't understand how they're directing us. Kinda. Did I share my new watch? Got a new watch. It's one of those Android fitness things, and I'm not sure I really like it. Maybe I'll do a review of it. It thinks it knows when I'm asleep. It thinks it knows when I'm awake. It thinks it knows when I've been bad or good. All right, so mathematically it has to be, and therefore you do believe in them personally. Okay. I mean, you believe they've been influencing us forever, which may be true. I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions that we may never get the answer to. I don't know. We can't even, get the real answer on the JFK stuff or the Epstein stuff or any of that stuff, right? How can we ever get the answers, true answers on the ET question? All right. IKR. I know, right? Ooh, I think I got that one. All right, everybody. That's it. I thank you for showing up. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and come back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Unless I get tied up with something and I don't get here, then I'll try to let you know. Or you can just tune in and go, well, I'm going to miss him. He's not here. All right. Bye, everybody.